Good evening, everybody. I did a live earlier this evening, but some news came to mind, and I said I have to get in front of my fans immediately. As we all know, Prime Minister Netanyahu did land in the United States this morning, or what was yesterday, July 22nd. He's due to make some diplomatic visits over the next 24 hours and deliver a speech to Congress on Wednesday, the 25th or the 24th. I'm sorry. Uh, there were a couple of reports that came out that were pretty troubling to me. Um, just a few hours ago, I explained to you guys how Kamala Harris is has a problem that she'll be pandering to the extreme left of her party. It took all of what 2 hours for this news to come out, and let me share it here. We have Julie Brufk of Axios reporting the following. One senior source involved in planning the Netanyahu joint address tells me below is all factual. Harris declines to preside over the speech. Patty Murray, who's the president pro tempore of the Senate, also denied to preside over Netanyahu's speech. Traditionally, it'll be the most senior Democrat or the senior senator of the chamber would be presiding over the speech. But I mean, how long did it take? It's what else do you think? Of course, she's pandering to the extremists. She needs every vote she can get. She can't lose the extremists. They're already calling her complicit in genocide. But she decides that she has a scheduling conflict now. To be fair, and I mean that's what we're here for, right? We're not ideologues or critical thinkers of any sorts. Um, we're not ideologues, comma. We are critical thinkers. I should have said that better. There is the Globi News, and Globi News being also a reputable source. Our support for Israel will continue. You could see they're primarily based on international affairs and such. Even further, though, you have, as ironic as it is, you have Al Arabiya, a Saudi publication, reporting as of 5 or 11 minutes ago when it was most recently updated. And right now, just for reference, it's 12:42 Eastern Time AM, which means it's about yeah, this is about like 15 minutes ago. So we have confirmation from Al Arabiya, which is a reputable news source. They're not really known to make up facts. Joe Biden is expected to meet the prime minister Thursday, which is the day, and he's expected to meet Harris separate from Biden's meeting. Um, yeah, they got some Harris aide to say what she's going to voice her concern for. I'm sure it'll always be with an eye towards the election. Now for my take. I I remember as far back as sixth, seventh grade, I started to maybe even no, a little later, maybe in high school. I started learning about what APAC was. And they pitched themselves as a bipartisan organization that was centered around a two-state solution and working across the aisle. In my young, naive political brain as a high schooler, I thought, wow, this is a monumental task of being bipartisan, you think you're going to get these Democrats? And again, this is me seeing shifts from I was politically conscious around the McCain Obama election and just saw fracturing ever since. To me, as an American, the best moment in American politics was when McCain said, "Mr. Obama's just somebody I have disagreements with, but he's a fine man." Something along those lines. But I've just seen fracture since, and I know that I when in the McCain Obama election, it was unique of me to have been politically aware at that point. But when I saw AIPAC was working to make Israel a bipartisan issue, I said, "How in the world are they going to make that happen?" When Netanyahu made his speech to Congress in pure spite and hatred of President Obama, he violated the golden rule of politicizing support for Israel. If you ask me, since then, Israel became a partisan issue. I fault Prime Minister Netanyahu for making it a partisan issue. And I remember the speech was right before the Jewish holiday of Purim. What was the point of that? He wasn't stopping the JCPOA from getting into effect. What's otherwise known as the Iran nuclear deal. And we are where we are today. With Vice President Harris snubbing the prime minister, the president pro tempore snubbing the prime minister. They wouldn't do the same to the Ukrainian president. They haven't. They made it their business to be around for that. Now we're in a moment of Israel is at war, just as the Ukrainian president is. But now it's being looked at in a political lens. Now the vice president is the presumptive Democratic nominee for president. Her not listening or not even giving Prime Minister Netanyahu a chance just speaks to two ideals of the extreme left. Number one, don't give Israel any legitimacy at any cost. Number two, do not give a platform to people who disagree with you. The extreme right is no better. The extreme right see to demonize foreign alliances and any sort of aid to our allies as bad, counter to American interests and values. It's simply not the case. Vice President Harris should be there, supporting the one ally that actually returns progress, innovation, and improvement to the American apparatus. If Vice President Harris wants any shot in winning swing states, such as Pennsylvania, such as Arizona, keeping New Hampshire, New Mexico, she'll come out and support Israel. Professor Alan Dershowitz calls it, some presidents endorse the one state solution, which means Michigan. And all that means is Dearborn, Michigan, because that's a very anti-Israel pocket of the state. That one state solution is definitely not going to lead anybody to the presidency. And the vice president would need a lot more than just Michigan to actually win this election. Critical thinkers, independents. I mean, on this, I would say I'm a Zionist. I believe in Israel's right to exist as the nation state of the Jewish people. It doesn't mean I'm not open to other opinions. alternatives to my thoughts. I like to think I'm a centrist when it comes to Israeli politics. I like to think that I'm a centrist when it comes to American too. But the US Israel alliance, in my opinion, is something that is in America's best interest. That's America first. America wouldn't have the kind of innovation they do without Israel, the weapons defenses they do without Israel, the intellectual property without Israel. Just look into the intellectual property of the Iron Dome. Who owns the rights to production and who owns the rights to the patents? Who can produce more defensive rockets to be done and with whose approval? It's truly a fascinating information dig. That's my take. More conversation is better. Vice President Harris not engaging in conversation will not improve things. If she's going to be pitching this protest of a scheduled conflict, that's just less conversation. What kind of message is that sent to the American people? Vice President Harris is going to run saying, I'm a trailblazer. I'm a woman of color, first one that's going to be elected a president of the United States. What? One that doesn't embrace diversity of thought, but diversity of skin, diversity of gender? What a fraud of diversity. I mean, I remember when Bernie Sanders was running his first presidential campaign, or at least that I know of. I think it was in 2016. And he was invited to the AIPAC conference, but said he had a scheduling conflict. This is such an old trick. Before we know it, Vice President Harris is going to be calling Netanyahu a war criminal, just like Bernie Sanders is now. It's just 8 years later. On President Biden, I honestly believe he loves Israel. He does believe to his core that he is a Zionist, and I believe he is. I think he went above and beyond for the state of Israel and the Jewish people throughout his presidency. I hope he doesn't go the way of Obama in his lame duck term and the winding down of Obama's administration. It really showed Obama's true colors. Professor Dershowitz said that Obama just lied straight to his face because of it. Now we have an extended period of a lame duck presidency with Biden. So I see a few viewers here. Feel free to leave a comment. I'll try to respond to a few before I end the stream, but I think I said my piece. By Vice President Harris not sitting or presiding or doing discharging her constitutional duty of presiding over the speech that Netanyahu is giving to a joint session of Congress this week, she's number one, pandering to the extremist wing of her party and not extending the slightest bit of legitimacy to the state of Israel. Number two, she's not engaging in conversation with people who disagree with her. And anybody who follows me know that that's what I'm all about. So that's what I had to say. And I really wanted to get in front of it because the story just broke, and I'd like to pick this up tomorrow. Let's see where let's see where we end up. With that, wishing everybody a good night. And I should have been sleeping a while ago, but I had to get in front of you guys and report this. All the best, everybody.